All righty, folks. President Trump has put forth a three-step plan to lower the cost of housing. I think it's fair to say that these initial three steps are very much focused on new homes. But hey, you've got to start somewhere. I thought I would have this conversation with Matt, the mortgage guy. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing great, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I don't know if you've seen in detail the three-step plan, but I have it. I thought we would go through it and really think about what is possible, what is probable, what might be wishful thinking. But I think this tells me that housing is important to Trump. President Trump has identified affordable housing as a key issue, and he is taking steps. This may be the first of many steps to lower the cost. I also think he's doing things inside Fannie and Freddie to lower mortgage rates, which could be a double win. But let's talk about his plan to lower home prices. You ready?
Yeah, I love having these conversations because anything that makes the news eventually is going to make it to my phone because people are going to call me. I heard this. My cousin said this. My uncle thinks that. And so, I'll give you my honest take on it. Agreed that we all know that Trump is a real estate guy. And so, if their focus is on it, better than not. And we'll also talk about, how possible and probable some of these changes truly are for somebody to just snap their fingers and, affordability.
Well, let's go to we're going to actually go to number 3, because this is the only one I heard pre-election. And it was the idea that the federal government specifically, owns a lot of land. And apparently, a fair amount of that land is actually within city limits. Obviously, everybody should know that the federal government owns a lot of land out in the sticks, but they do own a fair amount of land in and around cities where home builders could use that. So apparently, by one estimate, the land that they own in and around cities could account for 3 or 4 million new homes. I don't know about you, but that feels significant. It also feels like this could be a tie-in to the sovereign wealth fund of the U.S. Maybe you give land leases or something like that so that we all win. It could be a double win. But what do you think about cheap government land in and around cities producing 3 to 4 million homes?
Well, the thing that I do love about it is me and you have talked about this in the past. If we're going to solve affordability and we're going to truly bring home prices down, you don't do it by anything that injects more demand. You do it by adding supply. So this is something that, in theory could actually work. And, like you said, while this is talking about new homes and how to build new homes and bring new inventory and supply to the market, it also would help resale. If there's more supply and prices, come down and whatnot, it's going to also affect resale homes too. So if, you can bring a bunch of supply in California that people can buy for $400,000 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, like the ripple effect it'll have on the value and the sales price of resale will be significant. If it's, 3 to 4 million homes is quite a bit. So I'm excited about it. And I think too that, there's pros and cons to everything. I read a little bit about all this land that's available, and it's cool to think that they're like, hey, this is, 20 minutes outside of this city or 20 minutes outside of this city where we could develop. The amount of land needed for 3, 4, 5 million homes is like 1% of what the government owns. So we're not talking about, destroying or taking away from beautiful, precious protected, nature lands. It's like, hey, we're going to use 1% of this to try to fix this housing problem. I'm all for it. And so, it's cool stuff to think about. And maybe this is the thing that helps affordability over the next decade.
I think $3 to 4 million new homes can't be seen as a bad thing. I think you're absolutely right tying it to existing homes, because again, you'll force existing homes, at least at the margin, to compete with new homes, right? Because if they're askew, you just buy new. It's very simple. Yeah. I also think it's fun to think about that land being an asset on the U.S. balance sheet that could be sold or monetized in some way, which is not monetized today. You could do 100-year leases. You could do all kinds of things to the benefit of the United States citizens by monetizing the balance sheet. So I think that's a net positive. And to your first point, I'm glad you brought it up. This is all supply, no demand, which is something I'm all for. All right, number 2. This one was interesting to me. Apparently, and again, these are just the numbers that I read, 25% of the cost to build a single-family home is caught up in regulation. Interestingly enough, 40%, 40.6 to be exact, for multifamily.
Wow.
So if we seriously go after deregulation, now, I don't think anybody, you or I for certain, aren't thinking we're going to go from 25% to 0. But if we could go from 25% to 15%, that's not chump change, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, as a math guy, this is a fun exercise. A home builder, for ease of math, it costs them $400,000 to build a starter home. They've got their margins; they're going to make money, so they sell it for $500. Let's call it.
Yeah.
If 25% of that $400,000 that is regulation is $100,000, and to your point, you go from 25% to 15%, or you lop off what's that, 40% of the cost. So now it's 60 instead of 100.
Yep.
You just took 40% off the cost for the builder. So you've gone from 400 to 360.
Right.
Obviously, we hope they pass on the incentive and their margins don't grow, right? They now.
Yeah. One would hope.
Right. Yeah. So instead of selling for 500, they sell for 460. Like, that's significant. If you think about a first-time home buyer, a $40,000 swing in their home price for a lot of people is a yes answer or no answer on mortgage qualification.
For sure. Or people at the margin.
Yeah. Roughly speaking, that's about $300 a month in payment because every $10,000 is $75 all in principal, interest, tax, and insurance. So, if you think about the average first-time home buyer, if you tell them, hey, we're going to take the monthly mortgage payment from $3,600 to $3,300 on your first home purchase, like that's huge. And so I'm all for it.
Yeah. So I think that's a win. Again, I also think we should look at multifamily. The fact that 40% of the cost is made up in regulations is just unacceptable. And again, that if you could walk 10% off that, you could theoretically lower rents and whatnot in multifamily as well. So again, deregulation, something to go after. So let's go to number 1 that in the list. And this is the one I didn't understand. I didn't know. I was frightened by because I just didn't get how much this costs. Apparently, the HUD mandatory energy efficiency that is required in new home construction today accounts for approximately $31,000. And that cost is after deregulation. That's like physical cost.
Is that including you were pleasantly surprised when you were building ADUs that they've got to do solar? Is
exactly it's certain windows, I'm sure. It's it's all of those things making the house energy efficient, which is interesting because energy efficiency is meant to help you long term, right? Keep your energy costs lower long term, but I had no idea. That $31,000 of a new home is energy efficiency stuff. Right. So again, like deregulation, I don't think this is something that goes to 0. But hey, maybe don't require solar on top of new roofs for a while is helpful. I don't know. But again, when we're looking at lowering the cost of entry-level housing, everything should be on the table. And again, this is an impressive list.
Yeah. I think that each one of these things, there's merit to it, and you combine a few of them, and all of a sudden, you've got some land to build on that can be subsidized. You've got 10 or 15% off of the price of some of this red tape and whatnot, and that's the one that I think really is crushing affordability in some markets is builders are just handcuffed. Like, yes, you want us to build affordable. Yes, we'd love to bring this inventory to market. But if it, cost me $100,000 for this lot before I even start construction, how in the heck do you expect me to deliver a finished product that's sub $400,000?
And then you give me a bill of materials, which includes all of these extras, to the tune of 31,000. Yeah, that's all got to be captured somewhere. Somebody's paying for that.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's all good stuff. And like you started this segment, the fact that the current administration is thinking about it, talking about it, is trying to fix it, is huge. And so, buyers out there, those that are part of this demographic, like, I'll never be able to buy, a first-time home buyer is 38 years old now. There's some light at the end of the tunnel, because I think I know as good as anybody, because I have the conversations every single day. I get it. It's tough, right? Like, housing affordability has gotten tough over the last few years. You compound that with the fact that eggs cost $12 and everything else in your life is more expensive. I'm having tough conversations, but this is a step in the right direction.
Well, let's switch gears to Fannie and Freddie. I had heard a rumor, and again, it turned out to be false, but I had heard that there's talk about lowering conforming loan limits from 806 to something lower. I saw that Pulte came out and said, nope, not going to happen. We're going to stay at 806. What else is going on, Fannie, Freddie?
Yeah, so Pulte, who's the new director of the FHFA, oversees Fannie and Freddie, has caused a little bit of a stir lately, because that was definitely a rumor that I think everyone said, like, they're not lowering the loan limits, but the post to X, I believe it was yesterday, that got everybody kind of frenzied, was doing away with SPCP, special purpose credit programs, that was created to help certain segments of borrowers. Lenders, when we think about that, we think about home ready, home possible. These are like low income, maybe challenged credit borrowers. There's incentives that help these borrowers specific. And so we'll wait and see. From all the smart people I've talked to, they're like, before we make any announcements, before we make any assumptions, let's see what really happens here. What I saw somebody talking about, Mike, which would be really interesting, is, I know we talked about on this channel, and I know that, it got its moment in the sun and then kind of faded off. But you remember when there was this kind of reorg and they changed the loan level price adjustments, and they said,
I remember.
It used to be at 660 credit score, your rate was a full, like, 3/4 higher versus 780. We're gonna, like, fix this so that those 660 borrowers or 620 credit score borrowers aren't hit as hard. But you know what they did, Mike, is they hit 700, 740, 780 harder. And so there's been a lot of talk about unwinding that. And I saw some good points made from some people that follow this stuff on the lending side, where it really, it hurt. Like, these borrowers that were 700, 720 that had done a lot to maintain a great credit score, where all of a sudden, to subsidize more challenged credit borrowers, their rate got worse by 1/4%. So if some of that gets unwound, you're going to see all of a sudden somebody who's 700 credit score, 10% down, first-time home buyer, all of a sudden they're a quarter better in rate. That would be something that would be helpful and kind of cool. So we'll see what comes of this, because I've heard some not so great things about Pulte, to be completely honest. Some people I know in the lending world who don't think that this guy is necessarily qualified, and just came in as a trust fund baby from a builder family, and had enough money and influence to get a position. And so, we shall see.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, I think one thing is very clear. Trump has identified the unaffordability of housing for entry level as a problem. And he's taken a couple of big swings. I would expect some more big swings. Matt, where can people find you?
Go to greatmortgagebroker.com. We're licensed all across the U.S. in 48 states. We're more than happy to help. We've had some really cool wins, in my opinion, lately, where people understand the importance of putting together a plan. So no matter what market you're in, whether you're buying a primary residence or an investment property, educating yourself, getting yourself pre-approved and understanding your numbers, that's always the play. That's always the place to start. And if you don't do anything with it, no harm, no foul. On the other side of the coin, if you go out there and start submitting offers and you get emotional about real estate before you do the work of dialing in the numbers and getting that stuff straightened out, it could be a recipe for disaster. I've seen that too much, Mike. And no matter how many times I say it, people are going to continue to do it. They're going to be 3 weeks into contract and like, oh my gosh, $4,400. I can't afford that. It's like, well, remember when we were putting together Excel spreadsheets and we were having the conversations and you couldn't take 4 minutes to, that's when those conversations should have happened. So greatmortgagebroker.com, reach out to us. We're more than happy to help. Whether it's the conventional conforming type loans or non-QM, DSCR, bank statement loans, we do it all and we're happy to help. So get out there and get yourself empowered through education. That's been my mantra and it still holds true.
I like it. Greatmortgagebroker.com.